If this happens, I think we're about to see Bitcoin get catapulted back up towards $28,000 to $30,000. Jumping into the video then, guys, let's see what's going on with Bitcoin, because obviously Bitcoin is what is controlling the market for Ethereum and the rest of the cryptocurrency world. So guys, we have been for quite a long period of time been stuck in this falling sort of downtrend ever since back on the 28th of March, when we were sat up around $48,000. We've been trending towards the downside in these horizontal channels and then ripping out the bottom each time. But for the first time in a very long time, we actually pushed out the top. Notably, haven't absolutely ripped out the top like we have when we hit towards the downside. What's going on right now in this area, guys, is a pretty key teller of what we can see. So we have down here a nice demand zone, okay? So when we were dropping into there, it's pretty obvious each time eventually we were going to hold and push towards the upside. Now, in terms of my opinion, I think this is pretty much the market bottom. That, however, does not mean that we couldn't take perhaps a revisit at some point later on. But right now, I'm thinking that things are looking pretty bullish for Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market. We're seeing a lot of positive sentiment in the news. Yes, the news is controlled mainly by big money, but the big money are clearly trying to get people into the market now after a number of weeks of fear and stuff where they were trying to drive the price lower and lower and shaking people out. They've now got to a position where they have filled up their orders and they want to move upwards again. We can jump in on a smaller time frame. It's quite interesting to see what's been going on, because usually, guys, typically what you'll see with a rising wedge is something like this, and we have seen a kind of a break towards the downside. We then came back up and retested and then pushed back down lower, and you would have expected to have pushed even lower, perhaps down towards these levels around $19,500, but notably we've started to put in a couple of these bottoms here, and it does look to me like we're forming some sort of an interesting chart pattern, which I kind of believe is something like this. Typically in Forex, etc., most markets, this is a fairly bearish pattern, because ultimately what's happening is every time it hits the top, it's getting forced lower and lower, which means the bulls are kind of running out of steam to a point where eventually you'll see it and drop towards the downside. But actually, often in crypto, it actually tend to be a bullish pattern, and we do see a break towards the upside. Now, that's kind of interesting, because this actually is obviously somewhat of an ascending triangle, but in my opinion, this is a bull flag, okay? So we're sort of seeing a big push up, and then we see consolidation. And what we do in terms of a price target for a bull flag is we take the height of the flag pole, which would be this, and then you would bring it to a potential breakout position, and then you can see where that would bring us all the way up to this area here, which is sat at $28,300. But crucially, if we were to zoom out a little bit further, that's something that's really interesting, because in terms of where that comes to, you can see that that comes to a previous area of interest. And if we jump across to the other side, what you can see is after this accumulation, we kind of had a drop back down to another level. But you can see that this sort of zone through here, and crucially what's happened where we had a big push down and a retest around this area, which shows, you can see, guys, because of where it's been pushed back up, this to me would be our supply zone, where we come down and push back into the supply zone before continuing to the downside. Coming across, you can see that there's a lot of noise and stuff that happens through this area, and then if we bring this over to the right, then lo and behold, it lines up quite nicely with what I'm seeing over here. So what I'm thinking that's more likely to happen with Bitcoin, and this is definitely showing as well on the Ethereum chart, is I don't see us basically ripping all the way back up to all-time highs without some sort of noise or anything on the way, right? What I can see being more likely than not is a push perhaps over the weekend at some point and into next week, where we see a pretty bullish week coming in for crypto. And what happens in this area will be very interesting to see. It would not surprise me at all if at this area we came back down to retest this larger kind of pattern structure here, and then start to look to continue back up towards the upside. But every time we're getting these rips like this, we have these pullbacks, that for me is the perfect time to be looking to buy. You don't want to be jumping on a moving train. There's always going to be another train leaving the station. You just got to wait for that train to come back to it. Right now, I think things are looking pretty bullish for Bitcoin, especially if we're able to break beyond this and continue on the path up towards 28,000 to perhaps $30,000. But I don't think that we're going to be plain sailing and shipping straight up through the zone. without anything happening in the first place. But could be wrong, so always go away and do your own research. It's up to you to look after your money because you're the one who earned it in the first place, guys. Hope you enjoyed that quick Bitcoin update for today. Make sure you smash the thumbs up button. Thanks very much for doing that. And if you're new to the channel and you want to know more about Bitcoin, Ethereum, with supply and demand trading, as well as many other things, then make sure you subscribe. If you want to be earning rewards on your crypto, then make sure you hit the link down below, guys, which will take you across to Swissborg. It has some of the very best rates out there. I've been using it for a long time. It's a super easy and reliable regulated platform, which means it's significantly safer than using things like Celsius, etc. And if you're going to hold crypto anyway, you might as well be earning a passive income on it, guys. So it's a bit of a no-brainer. Make sure you click the link down below in the description. You get a bonus if you do that today as well. Thanks very much for watching, guys. See you soon.